All right, welcome to the April 6th edition of Idea Share with Key Ministry. And this is just a chance for ministry leaders across the country to kind of meet almost in person and just share what's going on. We're doing a lot of new things over these last few weeks while we're dealing with social distancing and quarantining and all that. So my name is Beth Golick from Key Ministry, and I believe my colleagues from Key are here. There's, oh, there they are, okay. So Catherine Boyle is our Director of Mental Health Ministry, and Dr. Steve Gersovich is our President and Founder. And I just want to open it up. I don't know if either Catherine or Steve, if one of you want to get started with something, or if anybody just wants to, tell us how it's going for you. This is really just an opportunity for us to all chat and share and support each other. So you're muted, Catherine.
Just saw that, sorry. We've been through 3 Sundays now, right? I mean, yesterday was the 3rd one, isn't that correct? So I guess I just want to throw it out there. Is it getting easier? Are new challenges coming up every week, or, kind of what's everybody feeling like? You can chat or you can talk, either one. If you don't want to talk, that's fine.
I can get us started if nobody else wants to talk. So yeah, this is week 3 or 4. I'm losing track. 4.
3 Sundays now.
Yeah. So, and I am on the children's ministry staff at my church. I'm the director of the special needs ministry. Yeah, I mean, I think as a staff, we're getting a little bit more in the rhythm of things. I don't know about you all, but if you're on staff at a church, this week's a little exhausting. I feel like our church is trying to do a lot for this week, to have a lot available for the members of our congregation. So I feel like, there's a different service going on via Zoom or, on our TV channel every night. So there's a lot going on. How about for all of you? Are you, let's just see like a thumbs up. Is everybody doing are you streaming some kind of service on Easter? Thumbs up. Yeah, okay. And how about for like a Monday, Thursday, anybody doing a service on Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. How about Friday, like a Good Friday service?
Yes.
Yeah. So, so Tammy asked in the chat, what are you doing on Sundays? So at my church, the children's ministry team has put together, so there's a website with kind of like a letter from our children's ministry director that has a bunch of hot links to different things we've done. So we're trying to record some video. So it's not as professional as some of the ones I've seen out there that you all have. It's just us. And, but I've been like, let me show you an example. So this is what I would normally use in my classrooms. These are just materials that I have put together using Boardmaker. So we're doing a recorded version of that. So if you go to, like if you were a parent and you went to the church's website, you would get a YouTube version of it was the Palm Sunday story. And it's a little bit interactive. So we've been doing things like that. So trying to take what we were doing in the classroom and making it available for families to do online. It's not like super polished, but it's real, it's us.
We are, hello. We are doing a Spirit Week actually leading up to Easter this week. So every day of the week we post on our Facebook and Instagram and different social medias. We're doing a different dress up theme. So everybody dresses up, like today's Servant Day. So everybody will dress up like some kind of a community servant. And then there's a challenge that goes with it. So they have to find a way to be a servant to their house. So they need to do something to serve somebody else.
That's a really clever idea. So I'm curious, Lisa, how are you finding like our families engaging with this? Because another thing, and I'd like to get everybody's read on this, families are being hit with a lot of information tasks. You know, a lot of them are now the homeschooling teachers. So how do you, like, how are you feeling about family engagement, family involvement?
It's getting better as we go, but it really, really depends on how much the posts that we make are liked and shared by the other members. So we have the whole member of our church staff is kind of required to go and share the information in their social circles so that it gets further.
So the sound kind of cut out there, at least for me it did, but it sounds like what Lisa's saying is the whole staff is required to like and share the Facebook post or whatever, Facebook, it's whatever it is, social media, because that's how more people are going to view it, is when other people like and share it. That's good. In the chat, Tammy's saying our children's ministry has a video and materials each week, but there isn't anything that is specific to our students with special needs. That has made ministry to our kids more challenging. The lesson is geared towards a third grader. How are others ministering to kids during the week? Good question.
I was going to say, we have found, so a lot of our parents, you know, they're getting all kinds of random things like from the internet, like from sources who they don't know. So we have found that they've appreciated getting things from us, people they do know. So we find that they're more likely to engage in what we have. And we've tried to keep it, I think here, at least in California, we've been doing this for about 5 weeks now. I think we're entering our 5th or 6th week or something. And so we try to keep it consistent in what we have. And so the feedback we received is they like that it's someone who knows their kids, like a known entity, and that it's a consistent thing that they can do as a family. So that's been positive. As far as differentiation, like we kind of do aim for that 3rd grade. It's probably 3rd or 4th grade. But we do have, when we put the questions in there, we have some questions that would be geared toward younger kids, some older kids, or some, you know, depending on what you have going. And it totally depends on the family too, what they do for differentiation in their family.
For those of you who are making like Sunday morning things available, are you posting them? Are you emailing them or somehow otherwise sending them out, or sort of a mixture of both? I hear mixture. I'm reading lips, mixture.
We're doing a lot of just emails, just because there's so much already our church is doing through social media. So that's one of the things that we've been trying to do. I think, so we kind of incorporated the Lifeway curriculum, and now Lifeway, Lifeway is offering it for free, and they have 3 different levels. So no matter, every kid can be at the same story, but at just different levels, which is we found to be pretty good. So.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just trying to say, for us, we have a website where we make the curriculum available, and it comes with the parent, you know, the parent leader guide through Orange. But then for like the challenges and the different interactions we try to do each week, we try to make those that no matter what age or developmental level, anybody can participate.
Okay, good. So Kathy is asking, she said, my question has to do with adults with disabilities, mostly intellectual, in the community that we would usually see every Sunday for church and class, and also then have over for barbecues, contact during the week, etc. The vast majority of them live in poverty, have their day programs closed, either live alone in apartments or in group homes, bored out of their minds with this social isolation, and absolutely no access to smartphones, internet access, or computers. We are doing porch delivery groceries and will also drop off Easter gifts, chapstick, toothbrushes, baked goods, shampoo, etc. And all are getting multiple calls and cards in the mail. We are also mailing DVDs of sermons and will record some lessons also to burn on DVDs. I am just sensing a growing desperation in phone calls and voicemails since due to disabilities and confusion over how long they may need to stay home. Yeah, that's a tough one, because I think, you know, we have come up with some really great changes in the way we do ministry, but so much of it depends on everybody having access to technology. So that is a tough one for sure. Before we move on to the next thing, yeah, Doc?
Yeah, I just want to jump in on there. I know it's a very tough and challenging thing right now with that. One thing, though, that I found with group homes there with that, they are just as desperate to find something for their individuals to do, because they're just like everyone else trying to find something. So if you can end up finding the one of the workers there, the director, contact them. They are more than happy to set up a time where you can do a Zoom with them, and actually contact them, do Facebook Live, do something there and they will set it up. They will get everyone together with you, and that'll work great because it helps them out as well, because they're trying to figure out how to fill their day, because they can't take their people anywhere either. So they are just as bored, just as frustrated, trying to figure out something to do. So it's a win-win when, you know, if you can, what I would recommend is just call the group home, talk to the director, explain what you do, and that, you know, the most of the time they know the individuals usually come to your service and that. Or it can also be a great time for you to do outreach and just call some of the group homes around you that may be near your church, because they are definitely looking for stuff to do, and say, hey, we are a disability ministry, you know, just down the road. We would love to, you know, maybe do a 45-minute lesson or do something with you guys. Would you be open to that? And I'd be willing to say many of them would jump at that, because they are definitely looking for that. If you can especially touch base with some of the Christian-based group homes, they obviously will be much more receptive. For instance, L'Arche would be a great one that would definitely be more receptive throughout the country with that. But those are just some easy things that you can do with the group homes there. It's harder when you've got the individuals living in homes and there's poverty there. They may not have as many resources there with that. But at least from the group home situation, that's a great way to try.
Thank you. Great ideas. Before we move on to the next one, any other thoughts on what Kathy brought up?
I just got something sent out by like NAMI of Ohio about like some of the challenges group homes are having here. And, you know, interestingly enough, one of the things that our governor went ahead and did in the State Department of Mental Health, I don't know if DD's doing the same thing, but they issued a grant to every group home in the state to help them pay for unexpected expenses, supplies. But when you're buying for a whole lot of people, one of the things that they had said is that, you know, you think about going to the store and not being able to find toilet paper or milk or some of these other staples. You know, one way of thinking about blessing the group homes in your area, you know, would be, you know, we talked about like taking supplies to our families. They themselves may very much be in need of like a lot of basics. And, you know, if you have a way of getting your hand sanitizer, you know, the things that, you know, meat, like the things that have been in short supply lately, that might be, you know, kind of a nice way of, you know, blessing and serving the group homes in your area at this time.
And Steve, that reminds me, I think it was on the Talk with the Docs call, or that was that last Friday, Thursday, whatever that was, Wednesday, Friday. And I think one of you brought up the idea of even donating like an old, like an iPad or, you know, like some old technology that would allow some of these like group homes, or individuals who do not have access to technology to be able to participate. So yes, definitely toilet paper and some of those other things, but maybe thinking outside the box on some other items that would be useful.
I'd like to chime in here because my ministry is almost entirely with adults who live in group homes and receive services. And yes, the staff would love breaks and in time of having to constantly be keeping people engaged. So maybe in keeping with that, if you're doing porch drop-offs, a picture puzzle or a board game or a fresh deck of Uno cards would be very welcome to be dropped off, give people things to do. Word searches, anything that would be age-appropriate coloring sheets that would have to do with Holy Week. Those sorts of things just to help people keep engaged, keep their minds going, keep them being with each other and maintaining wellness.
Great ideas, thank you.
Yeah, we have a post coming out today on our Not Alone Facebook page of family tips on, basically how to get through this time. It has lots of those suggestions that you just made, Lida. So lots of other things too that might be applicable to group homes as well.
All right, let me jump down to a question or a statement from Jennifer. Our special needs staff are recording video devotionals daily. We are each taking turns making fun videos, talking to our participants. Our church offers all of our services on the weekend, and weeknights are offered online. We write our own curriculum. This week, we are taking boxes of cookies to the homes of our more isolated families and group homes that were baked by our bakery operated by our special needs participants before programming was closed. Oh, that's really cool. Thank you for sharing that, Jennifer. Bronwyn says they organized a grocery delivery train for some of the families who are financially vulnerable. That's great. Tammy says we're going to start a Zoom meeting for parents this week where they will have an opportunity to fellowship and receive prayer. Our goal is to have a host each week that will speak on a pertinent topic and give them an opportunity to ask questions. Our first guest will be a special education advocate to help parents navigate questions about their child's IEPs. Has anyone tried this? We also hope to offer prayer during that time. So let's help Tammy out. Has anybody tried doing something along these lines? Lisa?
Yeah, I have for the past 2 weeks, we have been doing parent support, mostly moms, through Facebook Messenger, actually. So we have a large group of moms who usually or used to get together and at a coffee shop or at a different place each week to support each other. But right now we can't do that. So we've started different morning and evening meetings through Facebook Messenger, and they join the chat or ask to join the chat. And then when it's time to make the call, they can choose to answer it or not. It's there and available. And I've had a great response to that. Actually, more people showing up to that than would show up to the actual in-person meetups because they're able to come even if they don't have childcare. So it's actually opening to meet together that I'll probably be continuing even after this is over.
Mm-hmm. So 2 things. So yes, I think we're all developing some things that we're probably going to continue even once we're able to get back together in person again. Secondly, I guess I don't quite understand the technology. So if you could just walk me through that. So you're chatting in Facebook Messenger and then sending out like a Zoom link, or what's the actual meetup thing?
When you're in Facebook Messenger and you have a group chat with a bunch of people on it, you can hit the video call button and that video call will go out to everyone. And so it's kind of like this forum in Zoom. The more people who join, the more it splits the screen, but everybody can see and hear each other and talk to each other through that forum.
I had no idea. Is anybody else hearing that for the first time? Or is it just me? Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't
that's great.
know either until this all started, but I learned a lot about between in the last 3 weeks.
Yes, yes, definitely. All right, Kathy is responding. So back to the group home discussion we had. So she says, unfortunately, the group home care staff are also undocumented immigrants and they don't have computers. That's a good idea about maybe some new group homes that are unchurched in our area. Thanks, Doc. Lisa says, we're also making sure that voice calls are happening for all of our church, for all of our members. And so many of them have appreciated that phone call so much. Yeah, and that's something, yeah, we're coming up with all these great ways to use technology, but pretty much everybody, for the most part, can do a phone call. And so that we should not forget that's, you know, that would be a great place to start, and it's the preferred mode of communication for some people.
I also started using the Marco Polo app, and I used that this weekend to record a short video for all my volunteers. That was really handy. And then my intentions are to do the same thing with family. It's a nice, personal, quick thing that you can use, and they can send a message back by video too. It was my first introduction to it, so I found.
Okay, so I will admit I don't know what that is. So if you could tell us what that is, maybe I'm the only one, but if you could tell us what that is, I'd appreciate it.
It is an app. It's called Marco Polo. It was actually intended for families to be able to use to communicate quickly. You record a short video. It's really easy to use, which is super helpful for me because I'm not extremely technologically savvy. And so you invite people. What I did was I recorded a video for each of my volunteers and I sent it via text to them. So the video went along with an invite for them to join Marco Polo. And then so we're able to share videos back and forth with each other just quickly. It isn't something that takes a lot of time. You can also send it in a group message like you would on like Facebook Messenger. But it is something that is, you set up who you want in that group.
Okay. Is anybody else using Marco Polo? Okay, a couple of you. Okay. I guess I'm slow to the party. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see. So I think Kathy had to jump off, but she says, thanks, Dr. Steve. Good ideas. I'm in California and we'll check to see if our governor has passed any rules about extra monies. Thanks, Lida. Fun idea for new board games and cards. Thanks, Catherine. Appreciate this group. Love following on Facebook. Gotta go. Okay. Got a shout out for Marco Polo. And yes, and then Steve shared the link for the to download the Marco Polo app. So for those of you watching the recording at home, we'll go ahead and post that when we post this video.
You know, just like a low-tech way that we've been communicating, just last week, I think we had about half a dozen either little buddies or big buddies that had their birthdays. And so we have a bunch of college students who are home, or they're still in Davis, but they're home doing school, like they're doing online school and they're really bored. So they've been baking. So we've done a lot of like happy birthday, you know, dropping off cakes at people's houses and things like that. And that's been pretty fun. That's like been like a nice outlet of like, I have nothing to do, I'm gonna bake. And I think probably celebrated birthdays more than we would have in a normal regular life. So that's been kind of fun, like a low tech way, just like a little drive-by treat dropping. I don't know. It's been kind of fun.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And what you said about it's giving, you know, the people who are serving, who are volunteering, that's giving them something to do too. And that's really important. Let's see, what else? Is anybody else doing anything different for Easter than you would have, well, obviously than you would have planned, but any really kind of clever ideas that you can share with us? I don't know if this is terribly clever, but what our children's ministry staff did was we got on a Zoom just like this, and we did the resurrection, like we told the Easter story using resurrection eggs. And so we each, we each went through a piece of the story. And everybody's familiar with the resurrection eggs, yes?
I'm not.
Okay. And so we put that on YouTube, and we'll be sharing that. That's how we're sharing. That's how we're doing Sunday school this week. So.
Can you say a little bit about the resurrection eggs? What are those?
Yes, so it's something you can buy, but you can make it as well. And it's a set of plastic eggs, like, well, I don't have them here anymore, but the little plastic Easter eggs. And we did a shortened version because our, I think if you're doing for like elementary and up, you could use all 12 eggs. We took out some of them, but you open up the egg, and there'll be something inside, like if you Google resurrection eggs, you'll get a document that tells you what each thing is. But if you buy the set, like one comes with a little tiny crown of thorns. You can, if you're making it, you can put like a little piece of tissue paper in. Oh yeah, there, great. Can you, if you're looking at your screen right now, Amy's holding them up in her square down there. And yeah, so each one has a little thing inside, and then you can tell the story. So yeah, so there's a donkey, so you can talk about how Jesus rode in on a baby donkey. Like one is a little piece of linen, so you can talk about how his friends took Jesus's body and wrapped it in cloth and to bury him. And so it's just a way of telling the story. And it's great in a classroom when you can actually, have each student open an egg and pass the piece around and talk about it. But if you Google it, there's a lot of ones you can just kind of figure out how to make on your own. So if you Google resurrection egg, you'll see.
Cool. Thank you so much.
I'm Amy, I'm new to the group, but I work with Young Life Capernaum, and so we had just talked about doing the resurrection eggs, which is why I had it. Next week, we just started doing Zoom calls with some of our friends from Capernaum, and we did one with the girls last week, and it was fabulous. We did a little Bible study, had them do a craft. They were so excited to see each other. It was wonderful. So we're going to try with the boys this week, and we talked about they need a little bit more visual, so we'll try to do that with them this week on Wednesday.
Yeah, so. Great. Let us know how it goes. Let's see. So, okay, so Lyda's saying the Jesse tree is another nice way to illustrate the Easter story. Thank you for sharing that. So, a little sneak preview for all of you. So, as a lot of you know, Key Ministry was going to be having a big national conference later this month, and that's obviously not happening. And so we invited many of the speakers that would have been here in person to help us put together an Easter service. And so we are going to be sharing this Easter service this Sunday, and you'll all hear about how to do watch parties and all that. But this is something we want every single family to be able to worship together on Easter. And this is going to be a very kind of an interactive service, if you will. So there will be a children's lesson. There'll be a lesson for our adult friends. There'll be a sermon. There'll be worship music, a couple other little fun treats. So be on the lookout for news about that. But we're pretty excited about it. Catherine or Steve, do you have anything else you want to share about that?
Yeah, so a couple of comments about this. I mean, if you're on this call, your church is obviously doing something to help families, impacted by disability. So to some extent, what we were doing isn't so much for you, but 25% of the churches in the country still aren't online, and aren't offering anything at this point in time. And we know from the research that's out there that an extraordinarily high number of families who have kids with hidden disabilities, autism and other mental health issues, will never set foot in a church. So that we're putting this out there in particular to go ahead and share with them. Now, this is kind of like, sort of killing three birds with one stone, so to speak. One of the other things that is kind of neat about this is that almost every person who appears in the worship service has a disability themselves or has a family member with a disability. So that, our worship leader has a son with autism. Lee and Sandra Peoples are doing the benediction and they have a son with autism. And Lamar Hardwick's preaching the sermon, and, Lamar, for those of you who don't know him, goes by, the moniker Autism Pastor. So I think it's kind of neat that with it being Autism Awareness Month, that there's a very substantial presence, as part of this, of people who are on the spectrum or have children on the spectrum. And then the third piece of this is that it's also intended to some degree to be a training tool for churches, because Barb Newman is doing the children's message and is doing it in a way, like in accordance with, the talks that she gives on, being able to accommodate all different kinds of learners in Sunday school. Ryan Wolf has a message incorporated in this specifically geared for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So that, I think it's worthwhile for people who are doing our kind of ministry to check in, because we try to incorporate some things into this that are models for what other churches can do. So that'll be up and running, presumably both on the Key Ministry and Not Alone pages, shortly after midnight on Easter, I would guess. And, again, some of us are going to share and do watch parties, but again, families that don't have a church, families, or, folks, with the whole autism thing, it's sort of a neat outreach tool. And then, as a model for like how other places can do things in their ministry, some of that's incorporated too. So, we hope you guys get a chance to check it out and feel free to share widely. You can't lock our team up for 3 weeks and not let us leave the house and assume we're not going to concoct something. So, Beth and Catherine have done a wonderful job with this. And I think it's going to be a nice outreach tool, but also a nice teaching tool too.
Doc is asking in the comments, will there be info that we can share with people ahead of time? Yes, and we'll know that later today, what that's going to look like. Working on it, yes, but absolutely. All right, clapping, yeah. All right, any other thoughts? Is any situations we can kind of collectively help each other with? How's everybody feeling? Everybody hanging in there? Yeah, got a thumbs up from Doc.
I work in New Jersey, outside New York City, and we're knowing personally people are dying now. I don't know, are any of you guys getting hit with that as well? Knowing personally, the junior high principal of our district passed away very suddenly last Friday. And so it's kind of a shocker. And I'm hearing on Facebook from our church, other families with disabilities sharing of people that are dying. So I'm not sure if you're getting hit with that yet and what impact that's having on you and your
so
people, your congregation.
Al, I know you're kind of ahead of us, ahead of everybody else a little bit on this. But I think maybe, Steve, if you could talk a little bit about like the article that the blog post that you wrote, I think it was
Last night.
Sunday, yesterday.
Yeah. So one of the things that I did last week, and Don Skaggs is on the call, and we can like kudos to Don for digging up this resource. But Johns Hopkins University has a free psychological first aid course online. And I believe that Don is also a national trainer tied into this. And it is a tool that would be extraordinarily helpful for anyone in your church, especially people who are involved with any sort of caregiving. It is geared specifically to folks who are not mental health professionals. And where I think that this is exceptionally helpful is that it gives people a way to think about and, things to say when they encounter folks who are in crisis for various reasons. I mean, it might be that, again, someone in their family's sick, people have lost their business, people have lost their job. As we know, there are a couple of things online the last day about how anxious people in the disability community are about having access to medical treatment, particularly in the New York City area where things have gotten quite busy. And so that there are going to be any manner of ways that folks that you come across are going to be experiencing great distress in like the next 4 to 8 weeks. And if you wanted a free tool to help people to understand how to respond, and if you're going to mobilize lots of people in your church, I would strongly recommend that they look at this. That I got through it. I signed up Monday night, I think, after Don shared it as an idea in the chat last week. And I got through it by Saturday while I'm running my practice and involved with like the stuff that we do for Key. So if people are at home, as opposed to like constantly refreshing Facebook, I think it's worth all of you guys going ahead and checking this out. And I definitely think after going through it as a mental health professional, thinking about something that would be great for people who don't do what I do for a living and would help maybe to triage folks who may be in need of some sort of help or some sort of care and support from your church, I would definitely go ahead and check it out. So psychological first aid, Coursera is like the website that it's posted on. And I don't know if Dawn wants to go ahead and add anything to that.
Yeah, and while she's unmuting, I just want to tell you all that if you go to keyministry.org and click on our coronavirus page link, which is at the top of the page, this course is included in the resources that are listed. So, because it was Tammy asked if we could include the link, so it's available. Go ahead, Dawn.
Thanks. I have put many people, case managers and first responders through the course, and they've all had the same response as you folks have, and that is that it's easy to use, it's plain language, it assumes that you don't come in with any particular skill set except a willing heart to try and meet the needs. And I think one of the strengths of it is that it gives people a structure to work within, so that your good intentions do come through as positive outcomes and building a relationship. Sometimes in these situations, we've noticed, particularly on sustained deployments and long responses, it's tempting as a volunteer or a service provider, or even many of our mental health providers within the response, to develop relationships that may not be so profitable and beneficial to the person that you're talking with, because it's difficult to remember that these are temporary relationships, and our goal is to move them past that. I like to think about the difference between this type of psychological first aid and steady state mental health provision is similar to the difference between a surgeon and a field medic. In psychological first aid, the goal is really to address the surface issue and allow them to get connected to more permanent supports. When we're in a temporary relationship that's disaster based, people are very vulnerable, and the desire to help and serve can be difficult to manage as a volunteer or a service provider. So the other strength of this course is it really gives people that structure so that you don't become overly involved and create a dependence where there's not going to be an ongoing relationship.
Great, thank you. It was brought up in the chat. The question is, how long does it take to complete the course? So it is a 7-hour course, and Steve, who managed to do more in the same amount of time that we all have, he was able to do it in 5 days. So probably it would take the rest of us at least 7, but I'm planning to do it, and I'm going to recommend it to some others at my church as well. And Doc is asking, is this something good for volunteers to take? So Don or Steve, do you want to? Yeah, Steve says absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I would run as many people through this as I possibly could, like knowing what's coming, you know, and when you start looking at like sheer numbers of people who are likely to be in some sort of distress, you know, they're talking about 30% unemployment, like within the next couple of months. You know, we know that a lot of people are, again, like hurting economically, and that since we've been encouraging like all of our folks, you know, to become more active socially in terms of engaging other people, checking in on other folks, you know, anyone who's planning on doing that just, you know, out of their care and support for their friends or neighbors, I think would benefit from a lot of the stuff that's taught in the course, you know, to be able to, you know, to recognize like when people might be experiencing some sort of distress, and encouraging folks who would be maybe in need of some more help or support to take the next step, and to help them take the next step in terms of getting that.
I absolutely agree. I don't know that there's anybody who would be inappropriate for the course if they're interested in helping. It's simple and easy to manage through. It is somewhat self-directed. So to answer the previous question as well, you can get through it as fast as Dr. Steve, or you can take your time and really ingest it if the material is new and not so familiar.
Yeah, there are lots of like discussion boards, you know, to interact with other people. There are folks online who are able to respond to questions as folks go through. And I thought it was really impressive that as of the other day, I think 120,000 people nationwide had signed up for the course. You know, so that so that it's broken down into quote unquote like 5 weeks if you were doing it, and each week, you know, involves like 1 or 2 sort of short, maybe 10 to 15-minute lectures, a couple of video vignettes where they show people interacting with someone in a crisis situation. And then, you know, there's a quiz that one would go ahead and take like at the end of each little section to make sure that you understand what's going on. You know, if you want some sort of formal certification, you know, as long as you get at least 80% on all the quizzes, you can pay $49 for that. But the course itself is available for free.
And there's a question in the chat. Would you suggest the course for teens, or is this more for adults only?
I'll toss that over to Don, but I mean, I would think that an older, mature teenager would certainly be able to make use of this.
I would absolutely agree. And some teens may not take it to the degree that others would, but it's based on a very simple acronym called RAPID, R-A-P-I-D, and it walks people through the different steps that you would take, and it's not an advanced course cognitively at all. Anyone can take it who's interested. Some people will come away with more than others and a stronger skill set, but it would definitely be an opportunity for teens, particularly to take in a group where they can practice some of the dialogue with each other.
Great, thank you. All right, any other thoughts or ideas to share? All right. Jennifer, did you have something? Okay. All right. Well, stay tuned to our social media, the Key Ministry Facebook page, the Special Needs and Disability Ministry Leaders Facebook group, because we are coming out with some more webinar and these types of meetings that we will be sharing with you shortly. We'll get you the word out about the Easter service. And we'll be here next Monday. So thank you, especially the new folks that joined. Thanks for this discussion today. It's been really helpful for me personally, and I hope it's been helpful for you. So we will see you all.
Thanks for all you guys are doing. It's been very helpful.
Thank you.
So much.
Yeah, thanks guys. This is awesome. You're killing it. Thank you. I can't say enough.
So, thanks, Amanda.
Mhm.